The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was older than most stars. Its walls were made of crystal that had been grown over 10,000 years. Light from 100 different suns passed through windows that opened into space itself. Here, the rulers of 4,000 species gathered to decide the fate of civilizations. Ambassador Minho Beak walked into this hall with steady steps. He was not a tall man. He was not physically strong. He wore a simple black suit while the aliens around him wore armor made of light and robes woven from materials that did not exist on Earth. But Minho walked like he belonged here. His face showed no fear. His eyes showed no wonder. He looked at the assembled might of the galaxy the same way he might look at a business meeting back home. High Counselor Veth watched the human approach with something close to amusement. Veth was ancient. His species, the Tyranni, had ruled this council for 6 million years. They had seen young species rise and fall like waves on a shore. This human was just another drop in an endless ocean. "You may speak," Veth said. His voice echoed through the hall, carried by technology that translated his words into every language that existed. Minho bowed his head slightly, a sign of respect, but not submission. "High Counselor, distinguished members, I am Ambassador Minho Beak. I represent Earth and all human colonies. We request membership in the Galactic Council."
Islands.
Then laughter. It started with one species and spread like fire. Soon the entire hall was filled with the sounds of 4,000 different ways of expressing amusement. Minho did not react. He simply waited. Veth raised one of his 4 hands, and the laughter slowly died. "Young one," he said, and his tone was the kind adults use with children who have said something foolish. "Humanity achieved faster than light travel only 80% of your years ago. You have colonized perhaps 30 worlds. You have a military fleet of what? 300 ships?" 412, Minho corrected. 412, Veth repeated, as if this number proved his point. "The Kalari Empire has 40,000 warships. The Drokar hegemony has 60,000. Even the smallest member of this council commands more power than your entire species. Why should we accept you?" Minho's expression did not change, because it would be wise. More laughter. This time it was louder. Even Veth allowed himself a small smile. "Wise?" Veth asked. "Please explain to this council why accepting a species that has existed for barely a cosmic moment would be wise." "I did not come here to beg for protection," Minho said. His voice was calm, quiet, but somehow it carried through the entire hall. "We do not need your protection. We came here to introduce ourselves, to offer friendship, and to give you a warning." The laughter stopped. Not because anyone was afraid. They stopped because they were confused. No young species had ever spoken to the council this way. Commander Torin of the Kellery Empire stepped forward. He was massive, covered in natural armor that could stop energy weapons. His species had conquered 200 worlds through military might alone. "A warning?" he growled. "What warning could a species of soft-skinned mammals possibly give to us?" Minho turned to look at Torin. He had to look up to meet the alien's eyes. The size difference was almost comical, but Minho's gaze did not waver. "The warning is simple," Minho said. "Do not attack us. Do not threaten us. Do not test us. If you do, you will learn why humans are the only intelligent species on our planet." Torin laughed. It was a harsh, grinding sound. There are millions of species in this galaxy. Many planets have multiple intelligent forms of life. Why would Earth have only one? "Because we killed the others," Minho said. There was no pride in his voice. No shame either. He said it the way someone might state the color of the sky. For a moment, the hall was quiet. Then Warlord Kale of the Drokar hegemony spoke. His species looked like shadows given form, dark and constantly shifting. "You killed other intelligent species on your own world? This is meant to frighten us?" "No," Minho said. "It is meant to inform you. We are not a peaceful species by nature. We have learned peace because war nearly destroyed us many times. but we have not forgotten how to fight. And when we fight, we do not stop until the enemy is gone. Not defeated, gone. High Counselor Veth had stopped smiling. Something in the human's words bothered him. Not fear. Veth was too old and too powerful for fear. But there was something in Minho's eyes. A certainty. A promise. Your request for membership is denied, Veth said finally. You are too young. Too small. Perhaps in 1,000 years, when you have proven yourselves, we will reconsider. Minho nodded. He had expected this answer. Very well. I have delivered our message. What happens next is your choice, not ours. He turned and walked out of the hall. His steps were as steady as when he had entered. He did not look back. After he left, Scholar Myra approached the High Counselor. She was one of the Terrani's greatest historians. She had studied thousands of species across millions of years. Counselor, she said, permission to research this species further. Veth waved his hand dismissively. If you wish to waste your time on these insects, you may do so. Mira went to her research station and began accessing every human data. Transmission that had been intercepted over the past century. She read about their history, their wars, their weapons. She studied something called World War II. She read about nuclear bombs. She learned about biological weapons. She discovered what they had done to each other long before they ever reached for the stars. 3 days later, Mira stopped eating. She could not sleep. Her hands shook when she tried to write her reports. She had found records of a conflict called the Punic Wars. A human nation called Rome had fought another called Carthage. Rome had won, but winning was not enough. They destroyed Carthage completely, killed its people, burned its buildings, salted the earth so nothing would ever grow there again. This was not an isolated case. It was a pattern. Throughout human history, they did not simply defeat enemies. They erased them. And these were the creatures that had just asked to join the Galactic Council. These were the creatures that Commander Torin and Warlord Kale were already planning to conquer. Mira sent an urgent message to the High Counselor. It went unanswered. In her private quarters, she spoke to the empty room. What have we done? What have we awakened? Far away, on a ship heading back to Earth, Ambassador Minho Beak sat in his quarters and wrote his report. His message was brief. 3 words. They did not listen. Admiral Taiho Park read the message on Earth. He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he began preparing the fleet, not for war. Humans did not prepare for war. They prepared for what came after. Commander Torin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Unbreakable Claw. Around him, 200 Kellerai warships moved through space like a swarm of metal predators. Each ship was larger than anything humans had ever built. Each one carried weapons that could crack planets. Open like eggs. He was going to teach these humans a lesson they would never forget. The target was a human colony called Nova Busan. It was a small world on the edge of human space. Only 2 million people lived there. Torin had chosen it carefully. Big enough to send a message. Small enough to be taken quickly. Commander, his second officer said, we will arrive at the human colony in 6 hours. Torin smiled. His teeth were sharp enough to bite through steel. Prepare the surrender demands. Standard terms. They will give us their resources, their technology, and 100,000 workers. In exchange, we will allow the rest to live. This was how Galactic War worked. You showed strength. You made demands. The weaker side surrendered. There was no need for actual destruction. It was civilized. It was efficient. What Torin did not know was that humans had never learned this kind of war. On Nova Busan, the warning sirens began to sound. 2 million people looked up at the sky and knew what was coming. The military governor sent an emergency message to Earth. The message was simple. Kalari fleet approaching. 200 ships. We cannot defend ourselves. Please advise. Admiral Taiho Park received the message in his office on Earth. He was drinking tea when it arrived. He read it once. He set down his cup. Then he called Captain Yuna Kim. Yuna was 34 years old. She had commanded the Battleship Extinction Protocol for 3 years. In that time, she had never fired its main weapon. She had hoped she never would, Captain Kim, Taiho said. The Kalari are attacking Nova Busan. Take the Third Fleet. Stop them. Yuna's voice came back clear and cold. Rules of engagement, Admiral. Taiho was quiet for a moment. None, Yuna understood. Understood, Admiral. Third Fleet moving now. The Third Fleet was small, 50 ships. Each one was black and angular, designed not for beauty but for one purpose. They moved through space faster than any Kalari vessel could track. They arrived at Nova Busan 1 hour before the Kelari fleet. Torin was confused when his sensors detected the human ships. They were so small, so few. He laughed and opened a communication channel. Human vessels, he said. This is Commander Torin of the Kalari Empire. You are outnumbered 4 to 1. Surrender your colony and your ships, and we will spare your lives. You have 1 hour to respond. He waited. In galactic warfare, this was the point where negotiations began. The humans would ask for better terms. He would refuse some and accept others. Eventually, they would reach an agreement. No one would have to die. The response came in 30 seconds. Captain Yuna Kim appeared on his screen. She was a small woman with black hair pulled back tight. Her face showed no emotion at all. Commander Torin, she said, this is Captain Kim of the Earth Vessel Extinction Protocol. Your offer is rejected. You will withdraw from this system immediately. You will not receive a second warning. Torin stared at his screen. In 400 years of military service, no one had ever spoken to him this way. You reject our terms? You have 50 ships. I have 200. What do you think you can do? Yuna's expression did not change. I think I can kill every single one of you. The communication ended. Torin roared with anger. All ships, battle formation. Destroy these insects. 200 Kalari warships moved forward, their weapons powered up, their shields activated. They were the pride of an empire that had never lost a war. The human ships did not move. They simply waited. Then the extinction protocol fired. The weapon had no name in any Kalar database. It was something humans had built in secret in the darkest parts of their research facilities. It did not shoot energy or missiles. It shot something much worse. A wave of pure destruction spread out from the human fleet. It moved through space at speeds that should have been impossible. When it touched a Kalari ship, the ship did not explode. It came apart. Every atom separated from every other atom. Every molecule dissolved. Ships that had taken years to build became dust in seconds. Torin watched in horror as his fleet vanished around him. 100 ships gone in the first minute. 150 in the second. He tried to retreat. He tried to surrender. He sent message after message begging for mercy. The humans did not respond. The unbreakable claw was the last ship to fall. Torin stood on his bridge as the wave approached. His final thought was that the humans had been right. They had warned the council. No one had listened. The entire battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, there was nothing left. No wreckage. No survivors. No escape pods. 200 ships and 800,000? Kalari soldiers had simply ceased to exist. Captain Yuna Kim recorded a message. She sent it to the Kelari homeworld on every frequency she could find. This is Captain Kim of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet came to our colony. They threatened our people. They are gone now. All of them. Every ship. Every soldier. None of them are coming home. This is what happens when you attack humanity. Remember this. Tell your children. Tell your children's children. If you come to our home with weapons, you will not go back to yours. The message reached the Galactic Council 3 days later. High Counselor Veth watched it 17 times. Each time, he noticed something new. The calm in the human captain's voice. The complete absence of anger or hatred. She had killed 800,000 beings. She spoke about it the way someone might discuss the weather. Scholar Mira was called before the council. She stood in the Great Hall with her research in her hands. Tell us, Veth said, and for the first time in millennia, there was something uncertain in his voice. "Tell us what you have learned about the humans." Mira's hands were shaking. "They do not fight like us," she said. "We fight to establish dominance, to show strength, to negotiate from power. Humans fight to win, only to win. And their definition of winning is different from ours? Different how?" Warlord Kale demanded. Myra looked at him. "They do not want to defeat their enemies. They want to make sure their enemies can never threaten them again, ever. They do not take prisoners, because prisoners can escape. They do not accept surrenders, because surrendered enemies can rebuild. They fight until there is nothing left to fight." The hall was silent. "They have a word for it," Myra continued. "Total war. It means a war without limits, without rules, without mercy. A war that ends only when one side no longer exists." Veth leaned forward. "And you believe they would wage such a war against us?" Mira shook her head slowly. "No, High Counselor. I believe they already have. The Kalari were not defeated. They were not conquered. They were erased. And the humans did it in 6 hours. With 50 ships." She paused. "They have 400 more." In the silence that followed, Warlord Kale began planning his invasion of Earth. He had 60,000 ships. He would not make Torin's mistake. He would bring them all. Scholar Mira had not slept in 12 days. Her eyes were dark and tired. Her hands trembled when she held her notes. But she stood before the Galactic Council with the weight of knowledge that no one wanted to hear. "High Counselor," she began, "members of the Council, I have completed my research on the human species. What I am about to tell you will be difficult to believe. I ask that you listen until the end." Veth nodded slowly. The destruction of the Kellerai fleet had changed things. The Council was no longer laughing at the mention of humans. "Speak, Scholar. We will listen." Mira activated her display. Images appeared in the air above her. Images from Earth. Images from human history. "Humans have existed for approximately 300,000 years, she said. For most of that time, they lived in small groups. They hunted. They gathered food. They were not special. But something changed about 10,000 years ago. They began building civilizations, and they began fighting wars." She paused. "All species fight wars. This is normal. What is not normal is how humans fight them." The display showed ancient human battles. Soldiers with swords and shields. Cities burning. Bodies piled in fields. In their early wars, humans killed each other in ways that most species abandon in childhood. They did not fight for territory or resources. They fought for ideas, for beliefs. For revenge, they killed each other over which gods to worship. Over the color of their skin? Over words written in books. Warlord Kale made a dismissive sound. Primitive behavior. They were young and stupid. All species go through this phase. Yes, Myra agreed. But most species grow out of it. Humans did not. They simply became better at killing. The display changed. Now it showed more recent human history. Massive armies. Machines of war. Explosions that covered entire cities. 200 years ago, humans fought something they called World War I. 60 million humans participated in this conflict. 20 million died. They invented new ways to kill each other faster. Poison gas. Machine guns, tanks, bombs dropped from flying machines. The Council watched in silence. 20 years later, they fought again. World War II. This time, 80 million humans died. They burned entire cities to the ground. They built camps specifically designed to kill millions of their own kind. And then, Mira's voice shook. And then they invented nuclear weapons. The display showed the explosion at Hiroshima. A single bomb. A single flash of light. And then a city of hundreds of thousands, simply gone. They used these weapons on their own species, Mira said. They killed 200,000 people in 2 explosions. And here is what you need to understand. They did not see this as wrong. They saw it as necessary. They calculated that using these weapons would end the war faster. that it would save lives in the long run. They reduced mass murder to mathematics. High Counselor Veth spoke quietly. This was 200 years ago. Surely they have changed since then, Mira laughed. It was not a happy sound. Changed. High Counselor? They have become more efficient. After World War II, humans entered something called the Cold War. They did not fight directly. Instead, they built weapons. Thousands of nuclear weapons. Tens of thousands. Enough to destroy their own planet many times over. Why would any species build weapons to destroy themselves? A council member asked. Because, Mira said, they believed that if both sides could destroy each other completely, neither side would dare to attack. They called this mutual, assured destruction. They kept the peace by promising total annihilation. And it worked. For nearly a century, the great powers of Earth did not fight each other directly. Not because they had become peaceful. Because they had made war too terrible to consider. She let that sink in. This is what the Kellery faced. A species that has spent its entire existence perfecting the art of destruction. A species that does not see war as a contest between warriors. They see it as a problem to be solved, and their solution is always the same. Remove the problem completely. Warlord Kale stood up. His shadow form shifted with anger. Enough of this fear. Yes, they destroyed the Kalari fleet. 200 ships. Impressive, but I command 60,000 ships. The Drokar hegemony has conquered 500 worlds. We have fought wars that lasted centuries. These humans are children playing with dangerous toys. Mira turned to face him. Warlord, please listen to me. You do not understand what you are facing. Humans do not fight wars the way we do. We fight for advantage. For position. For negotiation. Humans fight to end things permanently. I will end them permanently, Kale growled. You cannot, Mira said. The Kalari tried. They had 200 ships. The humans destroyed all of them. Not 90%. Not 99%. All of them. Every ship. Every soldier. They left no survivors. They did not want survivors. Survivors can report back. Survivors can bring reinforcements. Survivors can seek revenge. Humans do not leave survivors. And I will not leave survivors either, Kale said. I will bring my entire fleet. I will burn their worlds. I will kill every human in existence. Mira shook her head slowly. You will not succeed. And when you fail, they will come for you. Not your fleet. Not your military. You. Your homeworld. Your species. They will not stop until the Drokar are a memory. Kale laughed. You have gone mad with fear, scholar. One destroyed fleet and you think these creatures are invincible? They are flesh and blood. They die like anything else. Mira agreed. They die. But here is what my research has taught me, Warlord. Humans are not afraid to die. They are afraid to lose. And they have decided that losing means extinction. So they will do anything, sacrifice anything, become anything to avoid losing. She looked around the council chamber. I have read their stories. Their myths. Their histories. Do you know what they admire most? Not their peacemakers. Not their builders. They admire their destroyers. The ones who burned cities. The ones who killed without mercy. They call these people heroes. General Do-Yan Lee's name appeared on her display. Then Dr. Hannah Choi. Then Admiral Tai-Ho Park. Then Captain Yuna Kim. These are the people leading their military right now. I have studied their records, their training, their beliefs. They do not want war. They genuinely prefer peace. But they have prepared for war their entire lives. They have studied every conflict in human history. They have learned from every mistake. And they have built weapons that we cannot imagine.
What weapons?
Veth asked. Mira paused. I do not know all of them. But I know this. The weapon that destroyed the Kellery fleet was not their most powerful weapon. It was not even close. They have been preparing for a conflict like this for generations. They knew someone would come eventually. Someone would try to conquer them. and they have been building tools to make sure that someone fails. The council was silent. Kale spoke again. I have heard enough. You are a scholar, not a warrior. You do not understand war. I will show these humans what a real military power can do. He walked out of the chamber. His generals followed him. Mira watched him go. Then she turned back to the council. High Counselor, you must stop him. Not for his sake. For ours. If he attacks the humans and fails, they will not stop with the Drokar. They will see the entire galaxy as a threat. They will not rest until they are safe. And their definition of safe is ... double quotes. What? Veth asked, being the only ones left. The council did nothing. They were too proud, too certain of their own power, too convinced that no young species could threaten civilizations that had existed for millions of years. 1 week later, Warlord Kale assembled 60,000 warships, the largest fleet in the history of the Drokar hegemony. He sent a declaration of war to Earth.on. Earth General Doyon Lee read the declaration. He smiled for the first time in years. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come. Knowing it would, he walked into Dr. Hannah Choi's laboratory. Project Sunfall, he said. Is it ready? Hannah looked at him with tired eyes. It has been ready for 20 years. I built it, hoping no one would ever use it. You understand what it does? Yes. And you want to use it anyway? The Drokar have 60,000 ships. We have 400. We cannot win a conventional war. Hannah nodded slowly. Then may God forgive us. God has nothing to do with this, Doyen said. This is just survival. He left the laboratory and went to Admiral Taiho Park. Together, they began planning the end of the Drokar hegemony, not the defeat, the end. The Drokar fleet was beautiful in a terrible way. 60,000 warships moved through space like a dark tide. Each ship was made of living shadow, technology that other species could not understand. They had conquered 500 worlds with this fleet. They had never lost. Warlord Kale stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Eternal Darkness. He watched his fleet with pride. This was the greatest military force ever assembled against a single enemy. The humans had 400 ships. He had 60,000. The math was simple, Warlord, his advisor said. The fleet will arrive at the Kepler system in 3 hours. This will be our staging point before the final assault on Earth. Kale nodded. Good. Let the humans see us coming. Let them know their death approaches. Perhaps they will surrender and save us the trouble of hunting them down. The advisor hesitated. Warlord, our scouts have detected no human presence in the Kepler system. Their fleet appears to still be near Earth. Cowards, Kale said. They know they cannot stop us. They are hiding behind their homeworld, hoping for mercy. They will find none. The Drokar fleet entered the Kepler system and began to spread out. 60,000 ships taking positions around the system's star. They needed to rest, to refuel, to prepare for the final push to Earth. They did not notice the small human probe hidden in the outer asteroid belt. The probe was no larger than a human hand. It had been waiting here for 3 weeks, silent and invisible. When the last Drokar ship entered the system, the probe sent a single signal to Earth. Admiral Taiho Park received the signal in his command center. He looked at the display showing 60,000 enemy ships. Then he looked at Dr. Hannah Choi, who stood beside him with tears in her eyes. Is there any other way? He asked. No, Hannah said. We cannot fight 60,000 ships. We cannot run. We cannot hide. This is the only option. Taiho closed his eyes. Then God forgive us. He pressed a button. In the Kepler system, something impossible happened. The star at the center of the system began to shake. It was a stable star, billions of years old, with billions of years left to live. But deep in its core, something was changing. Project Sunfall was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It was not a bomb or a missile. It was a piece of technology that should not have existed. Human scientists had studied stars for centuries. They had learned how fusion worked, how gravity held stars together, and they had learned in the darkest corners of their research how to make it all come apart. The Kepler star began to collapse. On the eternal darkness, alarms began screaming. Kale looked at his displays with confusion. What is happening? Is the star going supernova? Impossible, his science officer said. This star is too stable. It cannot possibly. He stopped. His instruments were showing him something that could not be real. Warlord, the star is collapsing. Artificially. Something is causing it to destabilize. Kale felt the first touch of fear. Move the fleet. Get us out of this system. But it was too late. The collapse was happening too fast. The star's gravity was shifting, pulling the Drokar ships toward it like leaves in a hurricane. Emergency jump. Kale screamed. All ships. Emergency jump. Some ships tried to escape. Their engines fired. Their jump drives activated. But the gravity was too strong. The stellar radiation was too intense. One by one, the ships began to break apart. The star did not explode outward like a normal supernova. It collapsed inward, creating a gravity well so powerful that nothing could escape. Ships were crushed into points of light. Shadow matter that had existed for millions of years was compressed into nothingness. Kale watched his fleet die around him. 60,000 ships. 20 million Drokar soldiers. The pride of the hegemony. Gone in minutes. How? He whispered. How could they do this? His ship was pulled toward the dying star. The last thing Kale saw was the fire. So much fire, and then nothing. On Earth, Admiral Taiho Park watched the Kepler system vanish from his displays. Where a star had been, there was now only darkness. A wound in space where light could not escape. That is done, he said quietly. But it was not done. General Doyon Lee stood before a massive display showing all of Drokar space. 500 colony worlds. Billions of Drokar citizens. The hegemony had lost its fleet, but it still existed. It could rebuild. It could come back. It could threaten Earth again. Humanity had learned this lesson many times. You do not win a war by defeating an army. You win a war by making sure your enemy can never raise another army. Ever. Begin Phase 2, Doyon said. Human ground forces deployed across Drokar space. They did not come to conquer. They did not come to occupy. They came to ensure that the Drokar would never be a threat again. The word they used was pacification. Captain Unikim led the assault on the Drokar military academy on their colony world of Ashara. This was where the hegemony trained its officers, its future leaders, its next generation of warriors. When she arrived, the academy was empty. The Drokar had evacuated when they saw the human ships coming. They had taken nothing. They had simply run. Yuna walked through the empty halls. She saw training rooms, strategy displays, weapons ranges, everything needed to build another military. To fight another war, she activated her communication device. Admiral, the academy is empty. Requesting permission to proceed with standard protocols. Taiho's voice came back, calm and clear. Permission granted, Captain. Leave nothing standing. When Yuna's forces left Ashara, the academy was gone. Not damaged. Not captured. Gone. The ground where it had stood was glass, melted by weapons fire. Across Drokar space, the same scene repeated. Military bases. Weapons factories. Research facilities. Anything that could be used to build weapons or train. Soldiers was destroyed. Completely. Permanently. The Drokar government sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council. They begged for help. They promised anything. They would surrender. They would pay tribute. They would become servants. Anything to make the humans stop. Ambassador Minho Beek received these messages. He did not respond. High Counselor Veth contacted Earth directly. Ambassador, he said, the Drokar have surrendered. You have won. There is no need for further violence. Minho appeared on the view screen. His face was calm, patient, exactly as it had been when he first addressed the council months ago. High Counselor, with respect, you do not understand. The Drokar declared war on us. They brought 60,000 ships to destroy our world. They wanted to kill every human in existence. We are not punishing them. We are making sure they can never try again. They have surrendered. The Kalari Empire surrendered to us once, many centuries ago. We accepted. They rebuilt. They attacked again. We will not make that mistake. When we are finished, the Drokar will still exist. Their people will live. Their culture will survive. But their ability to threaten us will be gone. Forever. Veth felt something he had not felt in a million years. Helplessness. This is not war. This is extermination. Minho shook his head. No, High Counselor. Extermination would be destroying their homeworld. We are not monsters. We are survivors. And survivors do not leave threats behind them. Communication ended. The campaign against the Drokar lasted 3 months. When it was over, every military installation in the hegemony was gone. Every weapons factory was rubble. Every training facility was ashes. The Drokar homeworld remained untouched. Their cities stood. Their people lived. But they had no army. No fleet. No weapons beyond what was needed for personal protection. They were alive, but they would never threaten anyone again. General Doyen Lee made his final report to Admiral Taiho. It is done, he said. The Drokar hegemony is no longer a military power. They will need 500 years to rebuild what we have destroyed, and we will be watching. If they try to rebuild too fast, we will return. Taiho nodded slowly. What about their people? Their civilians? Untouched. We did not harm a single civilian who did not fight us. They have their homes, their farms, their families. They just do not have weapons anymore. Taiho was quiet for a long time. Is this victory? Doyen considered the question. It is survival, Admiral. That is all we ever wanted. To survive? In her laboratory, Dr. Hannah Choi looked at the data from Project Sunfall. 1 star collapsed. 20 million Drokar soldiers killed in an instant. She had built the weapon that made this possible. She wondered if she would ever sleep peacefully again. She decided she did, but not deserved to. The Galactic Council chamber was quiet. 4,000 species sat in silence, watching the human delegation enter. There was no laughter this time, no dismissive gestures, no jokes about young species and primitive technology. Admiral Taiho Park walked at the front of the delegation. He wore a simple black uniform with no medals, no decorations, no symbols of rank except for small silver stars on his collar. Behind him walked Ambassador Minho Beek, Captain Yuna Kim, General Doyan Lee, and Dr. Hannah Choi. They walked to the center of the chamber and stopped. They did not bow. They did not speak first. They simply waited. High Counselor Veth rose from his seat. He was older than most stars, but today he moved like someone carrying a terrible weight. Admiral Park, he said, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you. We have asked you here to discuss the future. Taiho nodded slightly. We are listening. Veth glanced at the other council members. They had spent weeks preparing for this meeting, arguing about what to say, what to offer, how to ensure that what happened to the Drokar would never happen to them. The council wishes to offer humanity full membership, Veth said. You will have a permanent seat on the council, full voting rights, access to all trade routes and diplomatic channels. We also wish to propose a mutual defense treaty. Any attack on human space will be considered an attack on the entire council. The offer hung in the air. It was everything the humans had asked for when they first arrived. Everything they had been denied with laughter and contempt. Taiho did not smile. He did not show any emotion at all. And what do you want in return? Veth hesitated. This was the difficult part. We ask for assurances that humanity will not use its weapons against council members, that the technology used against the Drokar will never be deployed without council approval, that human expansion will be limited to uninhabited systems. For a long moment, Taiho said nothing. The entire chamber held its breath. Then Taiho spoke. No. The word echoed through the chamber. Council members looked at each other in confusion. No one refused offers from the Galactic Council. It simply was not done. We do not want your alliance, Taiho continued. We do not want your trade routes or your diplomatic channels. We do not want a seat at your table. We came here for one reason only, to make sure you understand. He stepped forward. His voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner of the chamber. Humanity does not want war. We have never wanted war. Every conflict in our history was started by someone else attacking us or threatening our existence. We did not choose to destroy the Kellery fleet. They chose to attack our colony. We did not choose to collapse a star on the Drokar Armada. They chose to bring 60,000 ships to our doorstep. We did not choose to dismantle their military. They chose to make themselves a threat that we could not ignore. He paused. We are not conquerors. We have no interest in ruling other species. We have no desire to expand across the galaxy. All we want is to live in peace, to raise our children, to build our civilization, to exist without fear. Then why refuse our offer? Veth asked. 'Cause your offer comes with chains, Taiho said. You want us to ask permission before defending ourselves? You want to control our weapons? You want to limit our growth? You want to make sure that we are never strong enough to threaten you? He shook his head. We will not accept those terms. Not because we want to threaten you, but because the moment we become weak, someone else will try what the Kalari and Drokar tried, and we will not be weak ever. Scholar Mira watched from the gallery. She had spent months studying humans. She had warned the council about what they were. Now she understood something she had missed before. Humans were not monsters. They were not evil. They were afraid. Deep down, beneath all their weapons and their cold calculations, they were terrified. They had nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times. They had come within moments of extinction more than once. And they had survived by becoming so dangerous that no one would dare to threaten them. It was not aggression. It was survival. And survival, Mira realized, was the most powerful force in the universe. Taiho continued. Here's what we offer instead. We will not attack anyone who does not attack us. We will trade with anyone who wants to trade. We will share technology with anyone who asks peacefully. We will even help defend others if they are attacked without reason. But we will not be controlled. We will not be limited. And we will not explain ourselves or ask permission to protect our own. He looked around the chamber. If you can accept that, we can be friends. Good friends. We have much to offer the galaxy. Our scientists are creative. Our engineers are skilled. Our artists are passionate. We could contribute greatly to galactic civilization, but only as equals, never as subordinates. Veth sat down heavily. He had lived for 6 million years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species evolve from animals to gods. But he had never faced anything like this. A species so young, so small, so terrifyingly powerful. If we cannot accept your terms, he asked quietly. Taiho's expression did not change. Then we go home. We continue building our defenses. We prepare for the day when someone else decides to test us. And when that day comes, we will do what we have always done. We will survive. Whatever it takes. The chamber was silent. Finally, Ambassador Minho Beak stepped forward. His voice was softer than Taiho's, but no less certain. High Counselor, distinguished members, I know this is not what you expected. I know you see us as a threat. Perhaps we are. But consider this. In the entire history of our species, we have never started a war of conquest. Not once. Every war we have fought was defensive. Every weapon we have built was built in response to a threat. The Kellery attacked us first. The Drokar declared war on us first. We simply finished what others started. He spread his hands. We are not asking you to trust us. Trust takes time. We are asking you to understand us. We are a species that has learned through terrible experience that weakness invites attack. That mercy to enemies often leads to more war. That the only way to ensure peace is to make war so terrible that no one will choose it. This is not who we wanted to be. It is who we had to become. Myra stood up in the gallery. May I speak? Veth looked up at her. Under normal circumstances, scholars did not address the council directly. But these were not normal circumstances. He nodded. Mira walked down to the chamber floor. She stood before the human delegation and looked at each of them in turn. Then she turned to face the council. I have studied humans more than anyone else in this chamber, she said. I have read their histories, their literature, their dreams and their nightmares, and I believe Ambassador Beak is telling the truth. They do not want to destroy us. They do not want to conquer us. They want to be left alone. But they are also not bluffing. If we threaten them, they will respond. And their response will not be proportional. It will not be measured. It will be total. This is simply how they are. We cannot change it. We can only accept it. She turned back to the humans. I have a question for you, Admiral. The Drokar hegemony no longer exists as a military power. You have taken everything from them except their lives. What will you do if they try to rebuild? If they spend 500 years preparing for revenge? Taiho met her eyes. Then we will do what we did before. But we will not strike first. We never strike first. We will wait until they move against us. And then we will finish it again. And if they never threaten you again, then they will live in peace for the rest of their existence. We do not hold grudges. We do not demand tribute. We do not want slaves or subjects. The Drokar homeworld is untouched. Their people are alive. Their culture survives. They simply cannot threaten us anymore. That is all we wanted. All we have ever wanted. Mira nodded slowly. She turned back to the council. I believe him. I recommend that the council accepts humanity's terms. Not because they are fair. Not because we have no choice. But because these humans are exactly what they say they are. Dangerous, honest, and willing to leave us alone if we extend the same courtesy. The council voted. It took 3 hours. When it was over, humanity had been added to the protected species list. Not for humanity's protection. For everyone else's. Captain Unikim stood on the bridge of the extinction protocol as the human delegation returned to their ships. A young officer approached her. Captain, he said, do you think we will ever have to fight again? Una looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 4,000 species were watching humanity with new eyes. Fear, respect, perhaps even admiration. They had seen what humans could do. They would not forget. That depends on them, she said quietly. We have shown them what we are. We have shown them what happens when someone threatens our existence. Now the choice is theirs. They can leave us alone, and we can all live in peace. Or they can test us again, she paused. But I think they have learned their lesson. I think the galaxy finally understands. The young officer frowned. Understands what, Captain? Una smiled. It was a small smile. Tired, sad, but real. That we do not fight wars, she said. We end them. The human fleet turned toward home. Behind them, the galaxy watched in silence. It was a silence that would last for a very long time.